Welcome to Everything Life Coaching. I'm John Kim.
And I'm Noelle Cordeaux. We are the founders of JRNI Coaching.
We're super passionate about all things coaching and want to share what we've learned from over a decade of coaching and training over 1,000 life coaches.
Dive deep into a more meaningful career, find freedom, and make an impact on the world around you.
Hey guys, on today's episode, we are going to take a deep dive on somatic coaching. Noelle, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, this is really interesting because so I got into therapy again, and what she's doing is all somatic work. What's interesting is you don't have to be a therapist to specialize in somatic work, and I think that's exciting.
Absolutely. So, let's begin at the beginning for the folks at home. So, what is somatic? What are somatics? Where did this come from? And the word soma is Greek, and
Mm.
it defines our body, our physical body, and distinguishes it from the mind or from the spirit or from the soul.
Yeah, for me, I've lived mostly in my head most of my life, with a lot of cognitive distortions and spinning. And what's helped me tremendously, I think, in the last 3 years is this idea of dropping into your body. This idea that that your body as a whole is a sharper radar, knows more than what's in between your ears.
Yes, it's super true. And on our hearts, our physical hearts, our physical bodies, the way our stomachs, our throats, our chests, our backs respond to the world around us, our bodies often go first in giving us information about the world around us. And then it makes its way to our head, where we, of course, impose our own cognitive lens on it.
Yeah, and so if there is information, valuable information in your body, if your body is trying to tell you something and you're constantly ignoring that, you may be making decisions that may may hurt you. You may be making decisions that's against your truth.
Or you don't have all the information.
Right.
Because it can be an absolutely positive experience as well. And this is one of the arenas where young coaches need training on somatic responses and how to show up in session as a coach using all of your senses.
Mm.
And then
Yeah. So
likewise, as clients, there's so much more information that we too can experience.
right. So reading more than just the words coming out of our client's mouth.
Absolutely. So let's toss out an example. Um, Have you ever been talking to someone and you got tingles based on what
Y-
they said?
Sure. Absolutely.
Have you shared that with the person?
Usually, no. Usually, I keep that inside.
Why?
Because logic hijacks what my body is feeling or telling me, right?
This
Fear,
is,
right?
yes, ding, ding, ding. This is the perfect example to debrief and bring our conversation to real life. Yeah. So if you're listening to somebody and you get tingles, John, you just gave us a great example. Your cognition overrode what your body was telling you.
Right, right.
And all of the stories about why I can't share my truth prevented you from telling the person in front of you, I have tingles.
Yeah, this is why, shoulders hunch. This is
Mhm.
why, we have white knuckles and, we start walking funny. This kind of stuff, manifests in our body physically.
Yes.
Yeah,
Emotions are experienced in the body, and the way that our body gives us messages is just as valid as the way that our brains give us messages.
yeah, yeah, and this, I think, is a game changer. I don't think this is just, like, one theory. I think it could change your life.
It can change your life, and it can change the lives of so many around you. And for me, it has to do with, you know, a full opening to vulnerability. And in talking about mastery of coaching, this is where you really get over yourself and you get over your ego, and you allow both your brain and your body as a coach to become a conduit for someone else's experience.
Mhm.
So what that looks like for me as a coach, is if I'm experiencing tingles, I say, "Wow, I just got tingles," or "I got a shiver," or, um, I cry with my clients.
Yeah,
Sometimes my
yeah,
clients will be saying something and I will physically be moved to tears. They may not be crying, but I'm crying. And that
right.
information, what my body is experiencing, is actually vital for my clients.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I think a lot of people think that as a coach they should not show emotion, or that if they cry it makes them look weak, and none of that is true. Really showing up in your authentic self is really powerful, and that builds a lot of trust with the client.
Yeah, and it's really it's quite beyond the self. It's about accessing our full senses for the purpose of data gathering.
Mm,
So let's talk about how this shows up for people. And I think the most common association that we have with somatics, with the messages that our brains and our bodies give us, is stress, right? So if someone's about to give a speech, they might experience anxiety, and commonly people experience a tight chest, sweaty
hmm.
palms, shortness of breath, shallow breathing. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, all the time, daily.
Oh, really?
I mean, to not to that extreme, but sure. I mean, throughout the day, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Oh, we're gonna work on you today, John. Your body is
Yeah.
giving you messages.
I mean, one of my biggest things is I forget to breathe, and I notice I'm not breathing, and I'm like, "What am I doing?" Very short, shallow breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holding your breath,
Right.
absolutely. Um, and then, turning the dial towards happy, wonderful things when you have a crush on someone.
Mm.
That feeling of excitement that lives in your body might lead to fluttering in the stomach or heat in the cheeks. When I have a crush on someone, I crash into things.
Oh, that's it reminds me of, Jack Tripper on Three's Company. For some
Yeah.
reason, that show, he's crashing into things, because he has crushes.
That's
I
me.
think
Yeah, I
I th
crash into things all the time.
I I think that's adorable. So if you guys see Noelle with bruises, that means she's crushing on someone.
Probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably. And what's wonderful about, all of the research that's come out worldwide regarding the way that human beings experience emotions in our bodies is that it's completely universal. All of the same bodily regions get activated to each of the 14 main emotions that humans consistently experience across cultures. So this is something that is truly about humans as a species, that that part of our capacity to live in the world relies on these messages from our body, and we all experience them the same way.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So let's break it down from an anthropological perspective. So, humans in 2021 are really detached from their senses and really detached from nature and the world around us. Human beings used to be able to tell that rain was coming based on the way the wind felt,
Mm.
right?
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah,
A
yeah. So
hundred.
being like one with and connected to nature, right? Being a sharp radar to it.
Actually, it's a little bit deeper than that. It's being in touch with the way your body experiences sensation. So, what we're actually dealing with in that scenario is the feeling of wind on your skin.
Oh, it's like when cats can sense an earthquake way before we can.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
there's something, and human beings used to have very profound capabilities to interact with the world around us. Our hearing used to be sharper, our eyesight, and as we've become basically an indoor species over time, we've lost the capacity to look at, observe, touch, taste, smell, hear, feel physically the world around us in a way that gives us messages that helps us with our environment.
yeah.
So,
I was thinking. Coaching can become such a logical experience that what a great reminder that to bring it back into your body and also coaching people on how to do that is also coaching as well. I think because of business coaching, a lot of people have defined coaching as such I don't know a heady experience, you know.
No, it doesn't have to be.
Right,
It doesn't
right.
have to be. And what this segment is about, it's all about the value of tuning back in to
Yeah,
your
yeah,
body
absolutely.
and relearning how to use your senses. Um, th- Using your senses is attached to an applied positive intervention called savoring. And we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but you know, savoring is right up there with gratitude and love and hope in terms of being able to really change the way that we experience our brains and our bodies. And there's a big difference between pleasure, which is quick and hedonic, and savoring, which is a deep cut of contentment that allows us to really get those feel good hormones going and enhance our evolutionary capacity.
Is that something that we should be practicing daily? This idea of savoring, threaded into your life?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. And so the way that this works is savoring is relearning how to engage your sensory experiences.
Mm.
So these are physical, emotional, or social. One thing that I can think of that gets in the way of savoring for most of the humans that I know is our relationship with our phones.
Oh, interesting. What do you mean by that?
So when I go to, before the pandemic, when I would go to a restaurant, there would be two people sitting at a table with a plate of food in front of them with each other, and they would be both on their phones with their heads
Oh,
down,
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
right?
that's the norm now.
Yeah. So physical, emotional, social, right? So if you're actually using your senses to tap into the reality of the experience that you're having, that would be enjoying the company socially of the person that you're with. That would be
Right.
emotionally investing in that other human, really working to listen and hear that person. It would be the physical act of having a glass of wine. Wow, that tastes really good. It complements the food, savoring the food, feeling what nourishment feels like as it goes into your body. Many of us are programmed to go and do things on autopilot that we miss and we detach from the experience of living our lives.
Yeah, guys, the wine glass over the shot glass. So, using all your senses to really anchor yourself into the moment and be present instead of being distracted and disconnected.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's shifting, it's turning the dial. Life is not a show and tell. Life is a graphic experience.
Mhm. Yeah, with me, one of the things that happened to me during the pandemic is I moved to a place I never thought I would move, and that's kind of like up in the hills a little bit. And I also got two chickens, and the backyard. I'm noticing, and part of this is having a child. Noticing leaves and trees and roses and a lot of things that are now connecting me more into nature because I grew up, in the concrete jungle. I grew up in the city, and so um, that has helped me tremendously with, just, somatic being more in my body.
Yes, and
Yeah.
when we're in our body, once we get there, once we get to a place through the practice of savoring, um, and noticing and becoming aware and allowing the emotions to exist in our body and maybe even thanking them for their message, um,
Mm,
one of the things that we have to contend with is this modern tendency we all have to beat ourselves up for physical outcomes that are actually beyond our control and associated with emotions. So,
yeah.
um, for example, something that I hear often is folks who are really struggling with burnout,
Mhm.
and um, they get mad at themselves for having low energy or um, feeling sad or having slowed or decreased limb activity. And what we know that these physical outcomes, being low energy, having your legs and arms feel like they're a little bit heavier, that is your body talking to you. That's your body's way of saying, "Hey, we have unpleasant emotions here."
Mm, yeah. It's a sign. It's, like you said, information, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we took this completely out of context and I said, "All right, John, uh, if your body is giving you messages and the message is it's really hard to move my limbs through space and time and I feel really tired, what might you say a logical or practical solution would be?"
So you mean pulling from just logic
Mhm.
or or reading my body and listening to my body?
Well, if you're tired, what's one thing you can do to help?
Rest. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And that is the thing that most people won't do because they feel that they have to hold their unpleasant emotions, bull through their unpleasant emotions. And when they're really showing up in the body, your body is saying, rest, slow down, take care of me. I need you. And so these are all of the different ways that we can begin to change the way that we experience stress responses by listening to our body.
Yeah, I mean, most of us, our bodies is tired, and we ignore. And if we rest, we think we're not being productive, or that we're not, accomplishing things, or that we're weak, and so we ignore our body and we continue to grind. And that exhaustion doesn't go away; it just gets bigger and bigger until we collapse.
Exactly. It gets bigger and bigger. And then, we don't deal with the root causes of the stress. We take it um, as norm, as something that we're fated to be subject to. And just the whole thing turns into a big knot.
Right. Right.
And then on the other side of the coin, when we experience happiness, It it goes through your whole body and
Hmm.
lights you up and gives you energy.
Yeah, I mean, in earlier when you were talking about the other tingles when you have a crush on someone, or when you realize someone likes you back. um, I remember. I mean, that those are such beautiful moments in life that we get to experience. When you kiss someone and they kiss you back, like that's that's basically all of high school and wanting to experience those tingles and those type of experiences in your body.
Well, even as grown-ups, the newness doesn't have
Yeah.
to end with adult relationships. I find so much, pleasure and stimulation in these kind of interactions when it comes from, meeting somebody who's just intellectually fascinating and you make a new
Sure.
friend because you have
Yeah.
so much to talk about. That's such a natural part of the human experience. And that's another example of where we dim our lights, where we shut ourselves down from
Yeah.
truly being open to experiencing other people.
Mhm. Yeah, there's so much value in that. Yeah.
So one of the aspects of coaching that was really starting to bubble before the pandemic and now that we're coming into the close of the pandemic, hopefully it's going to be absolutely necessary for coaches to focus on is helping grown-ups build social skills to move out of isolation.
Yeah. Outside the webcam.
Yes. So what I just described, the intellectual stimulation and bubbling and pulsing and energy that comes from making a new friend, that concept is terrifying to most adults.
Yeah, and especially I think if you're a coach, and for me, and I know I'm a little bit more out of the box than the norm, but one of the things that I love about coaching is you can create, adventure experiences or do things that have that element of engaging with someone where it's not just a conversation, but it's a whole body experience.
Absolutely. And when we have those whole body experiences, when we physically get outside, when we get into nature, when we do new things, when we allow ourselves to have those somatic responses in safe environments, it opens up the door for us to have them in real world environments that we're not
Yeah,
curating.
yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that we know works really well as a building block for tapping into other people, and I would hasten to say is an important piece of somatic experience, is altruism, is doing things that are nice for other people.
Mm, yes, we need that now these days.
Yeah. So if you do something really nice and generous for other people, how do you feel inside?
Good. I feel good. I feel connected to myself. I feel like I have value, like I feel worth, and I feel like I'm doing bigger things in life, than just using eyes in my statements.
Yes, and others, I've heard describe that feeling as a warm glow,
Mm,
an actual sensation of warmth in the body that you
hmm.
feel lit up, that you actually can feel your heart center with altruism. And that is a signal to your brain and to your body. Um, I am part of something greater than me. I am part of a collective of humanity. I can go forth and be part of this group of other humans.
It's one of the fundamentals of the human experience on in this world, on this planet,
Yeah. And, really
humankind.
talking about somatics, the sensation of what we experience, touch is huge. We've been
Yeah.
so isolated through the pandemic. I remember I went to go see my mom. It had been months and months and months and months, and we both had masks on, and she said, I really want to hug you. And I said, I think that's
Mm,
okay, and we both sobbed. I was so ill prepared for what the sensation of the experience of hugging my mom was
yeah.
going to be like, and think about the messages that my body was giving me, how beautiful they are, and that emotional response is all wrapped up in one package that's telling me I need more of this, I need my mom.
I love that your mom said that. I mean, that's something my mom has never said, and she's not really a huggy person. I think part of it is cultural, but just to say that to your child and to have that closeness is, I think, beautiful, powerful.
Yeah. And let's get into that because that's part of somatic response too. So this is something that we can work on, as coaches with our clients, is naming our needs. And
Hmm.
as human beings, one of the needs that we have is for touch. I'm sure that you came across this in all of your cool parenting jammers, the importance of skin time with
Oh
your
yeah,
newborn and the importance of
yeah.
touch. So, think about how primed you were as a parent to give that to your infant, and how we're conditioned to not ask for that as adults.
I swing the other way where I'm asking Logan for kisses, so much where she's just starting to like, okay, stop. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. But how about from yeah, from friends, from partners,
yeah,
asking for hugs from your mom?
yeah. Not so much.
Not so much.
Not so much.
Yeah, so it's permissive between parent and child, but that need for somatic stimulation, that need for touch, for
Hmm.
closeness,
Hmm.
for hugs, doesn't go away as adults. And it takes about 20 seconds to get the physiological boost that comes from hugging someone. So 20-second
Yeah.
hugs are what we need. And people are really disconnected from the idea of touching each other. Um, I see people, I mean, the pandemic has made it worse, obviously, but pre pandemic, I would see people kind of, leap. away from each other, especially if I was in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
And or helping somebody with the door. If your hands happen to brush, you freak out and pull away, right? And so this is, another way of dropping down and being like, no, it's actually okay to touch another human.
I love that we're gonna end this on hugs because I think the world needs more of it. And I mean, how many people actually hug for 20 seconds? That's very rare. So even if it's not 20 seconds, just a reminder to hug people that you care about and drop into your body and have a somatic experience instead of just saying words.
I'm so excited to finally get to travel and make you really uncomfortable with a 20-second hug.
20 I'm down. I'm down. Well,
Awesome.
all right, guys, hug someone today. Thank you for listening. Be well. Thanks for listening to Everything Life Coaching. If you're feeling the draw to become a coach, head to journey.co/everything to explore a new career that brings fulfillment, gives you a true sense of purpose, and a strong community to do it in. We created JRNI Coaching to equip you with the tools, training, and community you need to attain your goals.
Join JRNI Coaching and begin your journey towards personal freedom and a transformative state of growth today. That's JRNI.co/everything.